Hey, I'm gonna talk about the Buffalo Bills of the '90s. One of the great teams to me ever. I know they never won a Super Bowl, and I know there's a lot of jokes about Buffalo Bills not winning the Super Bowl. But Buffalo Bills, to their credit, they were one of the best teams of the '90s, man, and arguably the best team of the '90s. But you have to give it to Dallas because they won a couple Super Bowls in the '90s. So you have to give it to them. They won what? Dallas won three Super Bowls in the '90s or something like that. So you have to give it to them. But the Buffalo Bills are, to me, are right behind them. The second best team of the '90s because the Buffalo Bills was dominant team, led by the head coach Marv Levy, Jim Kelly. The quarterback. Jim Kelly was a great quarterback, man. Jim Kelly was a great quarterback, and he can control the offense. Early in his career, it was a little, some ups and downs with some of his teammates. Him throwing some of his teammates up under the bus. That was just him, just learning how to be a leader. He didn't quite, grasp that at first, but when he became that leader, he became the leader of that team. Great quarterback. Thurman Thomas, one of the best running backs of the '90s, one of the best running backs, in league history. Andre Reed, one of the best receivers, kind of underrated receiver. He was an underrated receiver. And we all know about Bruce Smith, the pass rusher Bruce Smith, and his guys with him, Cornelius Bennett, and all those other guys. But the Buffalo Bills is a great team, and a lot of those guys are in the Hall of Fame, like Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas, Andre Reed, and the coach Marv Levy. They all in the Hall of Fame. Bruce Smith is in the Hall of Fame. So that was a great team, man. And they had one of the best special team players of all time in Don Beebe. Don Beebe was one of the guys who chased down Nate Newton in the Super Bowl when, Buffalo was getting blown out. And he didn't have to chase the guy down, man. That just showed the character of their team. He chased the guy down, made the guy fumble at the 1 yard line. So that tell you about the character of the Buffalo Bills. Now, I remember it was this offense called the run and shoot. And I know the Buffalo Bills ran it, and a little bit later after that, the Houston Oilers, they were called the Houston Oilers at that time. They were Warren Moon. They ran the run and shoot, but the Buffalo Bills, if I can recall, they were the first one to run that offense, in that hurry up offense. The hurry up offense style that we got right now, that's nothing new. See, back when Buffalo was doing it, everybody thought Buffalo was crazy. You know what I'm saying? It was looked at as being, odd. But now it's looked at as being new. See, when one person does it, it's like odd. When a lot of people do it, it's like, oh, this is a new thing. No, it's not new. Buffalo was doing that. Buffalo was putting up, I think Buffalo was averaging 30 points a game back then. Maybe a little bit more than that. I think they was averaging 30. They was averaging 30 points or better in 5 consecutive years. No joke. And they kind of stumbled on it, on mistake because they were behind in some games, and Jim Kelly just said, hey, we should just call all the offense, from the line of scrimmage instead of just letting the defense be able to set. We should just call all the offense right here, and they had success with it at the end of 1 year. Then that next year they just exploded. Exploded. See, one thing about their hurry up offense, they did integrate the run too in that run and shoot offense. With Thurman Thomas, he was getting a lot of catches at the backfield, getting a lot of yards. He was kind of like that Marshall Faulk type thing. He was getting catches at the backfield. He was running, so he was used as a another receiver that was virtually uncovered because you can't cover him with a linebacker. You're too fast. So they were able to establish themselves as the elite team that next year. And they won a bunch of games. I believe they won 12 games or some crazy number like that. And, they went to the Super Bowl, played the New York Giants. The New York Giants had Lawrence Taylor. They had some really good players on their side as well. But a lot of people thought the Buffalo Bills was going to win. I thought Buffalo Bills was going to blow them out because Buffalo Bills was blowing out everybody. They was walking through everybody, man. And I didn't think New York Giants can keep up with the pace of their offense. Now I knew the New York Giants had a good defense, and what people don't fail to realize, Bill Belichick was the defensive coordinator on that Buffalo's team that did beat the Bills, and he orchestrated a game plan to stop the run. He wanted to stop Thurman Thomas because he wanted to get the Bills in just a passing game, and looking back at his game plan, to me, if you look at it from the outside looking in, you'll be like, that's a crazy game plan because the Buffalo Bills, they want to throw the ball. You know what I'm saying? So if you put 8 in the box to stop Thurman Thomas, yeah, all they're going to do is throw on you all day. But his game plan worked because what he wanted to do was get the Buffalo Bills in 3rd and long. You know what I'm saying? So when the Buffalo Bills came out, throwing the ball, and they had some incompletion passes at the, you know what I'm saying, in their like first 3 or 4 possessions, it had them 3rd and long. So on 3rd and long, you can blitz the quarterback. You know what I'm saying? You could pin your ears back, go get the quarterback, and that played into the Giants' hands because they had a pretty good pass rush. They had the best pass rusher in the game, with Lawrence Taylor, and then he had some guys on his team that can get to the quarterback as well. So they were able to neutralize Buffalo in the first half, and Buffalo was kind of shell-shocked. You can tell they was kind of shell-shocked because up until that point, nobody had no answers for them. And Bill Belichick, that's what made him great. You know what I'm saying? He was great before he was a great defensive coordinator before he even got with the Patriots. You know what I'm saying? That's what a lot of, probably a lot of young guys probably don't know about that. But yeah, he orchestrated the defense that held, I believe they held Buffalo to 17 points. But I believe that Super Bowl ended 20-17 because, the field goal kicker for the Buffalo Bills missed the field goal. You know what I'm saying? I thought for sure Buffalo would win that game, man. But the fact that it had to come down to a field goal was beyond me. I mean, everybody was shocked. Everybody in our house was shocked. Like, this coming down to a field goal? And you just had a sense that the guy was not going to hit the field goal. I just had a sense that he was not going to hit the field goal. Before he even took the field goal, I was like, man, he's not going to hit this, man. Because it was so much pressure on Buffalo at that point that everybody just, you can just tell everybody's face that they were not confident that man was going to make that field goal. So when he missed that field goal, Buffalo did regroup. They came back that next year, and they had another great year, blowing out everybody. And, we all bought into the hype again that they was going to win the Super Bowl. I mean, how can you not pick them by looking at them in the regular season, how dominant they were? They were dominant in the regular season. If people got a chance to go back and look at some of those games back when Buffalo played, when they was dominant, I say they was dominant from like 90 to like 94. That's the 4 straight years they went to the Super Bowl. They were dominant, man. And look at the stats. Look at Jim Kelly's stats. Look at Andre Reed's stats. Look at Thurman Thomas' stats. Look how good that defense was. They not only had offense, their defense was like in the top 5 every year of them going to the Super Bowl. So they had a dominant team, and then they faced the Washington Redskins. Washington Redskins had a good team. They had a pretty good team themselves, but everybody still picked Buffalo Bills to win, man. Now they weren't as heavy as favorites as they was over the New York Giants the previous year, due to them, kind of exploding, underachieving against the New York Giants. But I think they were still favored, and they ended up losing that Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't even really close. You know what I'm saying? And then they came back the next year, and they faced. I believe this is the year Jim Kelly got hurt in the AFC Championship game versus Houston, and what's his name? He came in and saved the day because they were down 33-3, and I turned the game off. I'm like, man, they don't win this game. And they came. Frank Reich was the quarterback. Now he's the coach for. Who's Frank Reich the coach for? Is he coaching the Bills? He coaches somebody. I know he was the quarterback coach or something like that for the Eagles. But he's coaching. He was the offensive coordinator for the Eagles or something like that. But he coaches somebody right now. I forgot who it is. I mean, y'all can correct me in the inbox. But what I'm trying to say is this: they were down by a lot, and he came back and orchestrated that victory. That for the Super Bowl, Jim Kelly was ready because it was like back then it was 2 weeks in between the Super Bowl, so he had a chance to recover. He played in the Super Bowl. They played against, if I'm not mistaken, they played against the Dallas Cowboys because I think they played Dallas Cowboys twice. They played against the Dallas Cowboys, if I'm not mistaken, and they lost that Super Bowl. So by the time the 4th time came, you was like, man, I don't want to see the Buffalo Bills in the Super Bowl. Nobody wanted to see them in the Super Bowl. And I remember when they won that AFC Championship game, I think it was against Pittsburgh. You see Bruce Smith and Cornelius Bennett, they was like, well, we going back again, whether y'all like it or not. And yeah, they went back again, and they lost again. So, but to me, I don't know. Some people will say it was a failure, but I don't think it's a failure, man. I think just they just ran into some good teams, man, and in that you know kind of the offense that they played was tailor made for the regular season, and and you can say to a large degree it was tailor made. It was good for the it was good for the playoffs too. At least early on in the playoffs, it's just something about the Super Bowl to where it was a mental block. I believe after that Giant, I believe if the Buffalo Bills would have won that Giants game, even if they would have won by that field goal, I believe that they would have been able to win another Super Bowl, or they may have been able to win all the Super Bowls. But I know that they would have won another one because they wouldn't have had that mental pressure. I think them losing to the Giants put a lot of mental pressure on the Buffalo Bills. But let me know what y'all think about the Buffalo Bills of the '90s. If you seen that era of football. But I just think the Buffalo Bills get a bad rap, man. They were a great team, man. They just came up short in the Super Bowl. But let me know what y'all think. Subscribe to the channel, man. This is my one of my NFL videos. I'm gonna be doing a lot of NFL videos. I'm gonna be doing NFL Sunday and all that. That's coming up, and I'm gonna be doing a lot of past, talking about a lot of past great players and things like that. But let me know what y'all think about this video, man. Subscribe to the channel, man. I'm out.